Welcome to Week 5, Personnel Management and Labor Relations. This week, we're going to take a look at the personnel functions or human resource functions of the modern public and nonprofit organization. The human resources staff of the modern office are to assist management and other line staff in providing a variety of services. Those services can include recruitment, selection or merit selection, training, evaluation or performance appraisals, compensation, which includes position classification and pay, assistance in discipline, and assistance in termination when that would become necessary. Now let's take a look at a few of these in more detail. Three critical functions that human resources staff play are recruitment, merit selection, and determinations of position and pay. Recruitment involves the process of advertising for job openings and encouraging people to apply. The main objective of recruitment is to generate an adequate number of qualified applicants to fill a position. Merit selection is the use of examinations for advancement in public sector jobs. The first effort at a merit selection process was in the 1883 Pendleton Act. It is the origins of the U.S. federal merit system. It called for examinations that were practical in character to eliminate perceived advantaged college students graduates would have. Since that time, great effort has been extended to create unbiased examinations that were practical in nature. Today, job relatedness is paramount consideration in developing a selection device. The legality of any test is based on its ability to predict success on a job. In other words, a merit-based test must be able to provide evidence that if you qualify or if you pass the test, you're going to do well in the job you're testing for. Position classifications are formal job descriptions that organize all jobs within the civil service merit system on the basis of duties and responsibilities, for delineating authority, for establishing chains of command, and for providing equitable salary schedules. They are really throwbacks to the scientific management movement. A position refers to a set of duties and responsibilities, not an individual person. A conventional classification systems are absolute for many categories of employees. Performance appraisals or performance evaluations are the formal name given to the methods used by an organization to evaluate its employees. Unfortunately, most performance appraisal systems are not very successful. Supervisors have difficulty writing effective and objective performance reports. Certainly in my experience as a manager in various organizations, they can be very tough. You want to reward success and help staff improve, and it can be very hard to be objective in those criteria. There are 5 basic types of performance evaluations. The first is supervisory ratings. Those are the most common. And it's, as it says, a supervisor simply rates his or her employees. There are self-ratings, where individuals rate themselves. There are peer ratings, where each individual rates everyone in their department or area, and then their scores are averaged. Subordinate ratings, where subordinates rate the supervisor. And group ratings, where an independent rater rates the performance of a group of staff based on observations and interviews. When I would rate my employees, I would often involve several of these methods, including supervisory ratings, peer ratings, and subordinate ratings. I frequently asked my subordinates for feedback on ratings on how I'm performing my duties and helping them give their jobs. Staff development or training is critical for a successful organization. Unfortunately, training is frequently the victim of organizational neglect. In a budget squeeze, training funds are tended to be cut in favor of the examination and the classification functions frequently mandated by legislation or charter. In fact, it wasn't until 1958 that Congress passed the Government Employees Training Act that required federal agencies to provide for employee training. It would be yet another decade before the U.S. Civil Service Commission would be authorized to create the federal government's first in-residence management training facility, which is the Federal Executive Institute in Charlottesville, Virginia. And it was not until the Intergovernmental Personnel Act of 1970 that the federal government was able to provide any funds for state or local government training programs. But those were even only temporary. The Reagan administration discontinued such grants in the mid-1980s. Although there is great variety in training formats, almost all will fall into one of the following categories. First is skills training, where that is teaching specific skills such as word processing, welding, or computer operation. Coaching, or personal instruction in which an expert oversees the efforts of a learner and provides continual advice. Formal and informal classroom instruction, which is traditional classroom instruction, includes courses at nearby academic institutions whereby groups of employees are instructed, with jurisdictions often providing subsidies for job-related college courses. Sensitivity or T-group training, assembling small groups of employees to deal with specific problems, often of interpersonal relationships, usually requiring a professional facilitator and relying heavily on the willingness of individuals to confront the emotional aspects of their behavior. The next is job rotation, providing employees with differing work activities in order to increase their experience. A variant of this is being cross-trained, where each job and thus the entire work of an office is learned by each employee. We also have special conferences and seminars, which are meetings of employees or professional groups to discuss and exchange ideas about common processes, problems, and techniques. Modeling, games, and simulation training simulate real-life situations, providing employees with various experiences. Exchanges and sabbatical programs are not as common, but they do occur. Here, the individual is out of the organizational environment and into a totally different one for a substantial period of time, often several months to a year, in order to gain experience in a different environment. And hopefully those experiences will be brought back to their position and will improve their performance. The cartoon at the right is perhaps a misinformed but nonetheless humorous effort to portray the view many have of government workers. As they're saying, as a result of teamwork, blown light bulbs successfully removed. Now they can send the bulb replacement team. Now let's take a look at major reforms in the federal service system. The Pendleton Act was signed into law on January 16, 1883. The Act created the U.S. Civil Service Commission as the personnel management arm of the President. While it was termed a commission, it was by no means independent. It was an executive agency that for all practical purposes was subject to the administrative discretion of the President. Written into the Act were requirements for open competitive examinations, probationary periods, and protection from political pressures. The Civil Service Act of 1970 mandated that the U.S. Civil Service Commission be divided into two separate agencies. One of them was the Office of Personnel Management. It serves as the personnel arm of the Chief Executive. And there's also an independent Merit System Protection Board, which provides recourse for aggrieved employees. In addition, the Civil Service Act, Reform Act of 1970 also created the Federal Labor Relations Authority to oversee federal labor management policies. The 1980s and 90s, and continuing to today, is a time of great decentralization in the federal human resources management system. Among the early initiatives was the 1993 National Performance Review, or in other words, also known as the Gore Report. It stated that to create an effective federal government, we must reform virtually the entire personnel system, including recruitment, hiring, classification, promotion, pay, and reward systems. As a result of the Gore Report, the federal government took the following actions. It deregulated personnel policy by phasing out the 10,000 plus page federal personnel manual and all agency implementing directives. It gave all departments and agencies authority to conduct their own recruitment and examinations for all positions and abolished all central registers and standard application forms. It dramatically simplified the current classification system to give agencies greater flexibility in how they classify and pay their employees. It allowed agencies to design their own performance management and reward systems with the objective of improving the performance of individuals and organizations. It also sought to reduce by half the time required to terminate federal managers and employees for cause. In addition to decentralization, all levels of government have sought to privatize many functions. Since 1995, privatization has become a much more common practice. The practice of hiring non-government employees to perform government functions is not without controversy, however. First, contracting out jobs to private firms has taken on qualities of a new political patronage system. Contracts for public services may be used as rewards for campaign supporters, just as political jobs once were. Second, it is unclear if contracting out government jobs to private firms really saves the taxpayers money. Numerous studies have tried to measure the cost-effectiveness of contracting out policies with significantly varied findings. And I would agree, in my own experience, in positions I've held, we've contracted some services in an effort to save money, and at times it does save money. At other times it does not necessarily save money, but it simply allows a community to provide services that it does not have the staff to provide without hiring new staff. So it can be both good and bad. Patronage appointments have been a long-standing practice at all levels of government for literally hundreds of years. Patronage is the power of elected and appointed officials to make partisan appointments to office or to confer contracts, honors, or other benefits on their political supporters. The cartoon on the left is of Governor Deval Patrick of Massachusetts. He's been criticized for offering his friends patronage positions, including contracts and other rewards. While subject to frequent attack from reformers, patronage has traditionally been the method by which political leaders ensure themselves a loyal support system of people who will carry out their policies and organize voters for their continued political control. The patronage appointment process is more commonly known as the spoils system. And the cartoon on the right is certainly from several hundred years ago when it was known as the spoils system. We have now concluded this week's lecture. Before you answer the discussion questions and the assignment, please complete all readings and posted YouTube videos. Good luck this week.